Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister, dignitaries on the dais, and everyone attending at this session here and online. I'll try and talk a bit about the engineering, design and construction services sector, its potential and opportunities. Before I start, just for the context, the focus here is on three specific themes: the consulting services, engineering services outsourcing, and the construction and supervision services. We are amidst some very fundamental and tremendous change globally, and this is the realization that is accelerated post-pandemic, that we must look at sustainable environment. The Sustainable Development Goals worldwide are being taken up seriously. The COP26 few days back, where India made a commitment of net zero by 2070. The focus on decarbonization, green engineering, and the whole thrust on digital will make service industry really go by leaps and bounds. Amidst all of this, there is a tremendous opportunity for India in the services sector to be a dominant player, especially with focus on hydrogen, green and sustainable materials, chemicals, infrastructure being put in as a top priority by all governments worldwide to accelerate their economy post-pandemic, with new agreements being signed in the US, Australia, Europe, and of course our own tremendous thrust on infrastructure to make India truly world-class is showing huge results. And amidst this, in terms of engineers and professionals in this field, there is tremendous growth both in India and outside. And to really use this change of electrification, hydrogen, sustainability, COP26 to actually promote Indian services at a global scale. So if you look at the market, there are three distinct areas of engineering, design and related work. The first is product engineering, and you talk about discrete products, aerospace, automotive, white goods, telecom, all products come under this, and we're talking about services related to this product. So design services for automotive, aerospace. The second component is on process and industrial plant engineering, and this is about refineries, steel plants, aluminum plants, batteries, ecosystem, and so on and so forth. And lastly, of course, infrastructure, projects engineering, so design of metros, airports, highways, smart cities, and of course related construction of that. Now in the international context, to do construction services, there's limited scope, which is of course growing, but the scope is more in Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia. Whereas in terms of product engineering, process and plant engineering, the scope is more on the western side, where there is diminishing engineering talent, and so the Indian natural talent provides the much needed workforce. If you combine these three aspects and are much focus on Atmanirbhar Bharat, truly if India gains the right context at a global stage and within India, we could truly make this ambition arrive faster. To be Atmanirbhar, we must know how to design products, to produce the best infrastructure, and to leverage the decarbonization and the new sustainable green economy by designing efficient circular economy and digital plants and infrastructure. In terms of the addressable market, which is growing between 10 to 25% CAGR, the three segments of product, plant and project, the 3P as I would like to call, poses an addressable market for India and entrepreneurs in India of almost $500 billion. Today, if we keep the ITES away, pure engineering services revenue in India is between 15 to 20, because some of this work gets embedded in the manufacturing side, and we export products that are engineered in India for international markets. But it's safe to say we're talking about a 20 billion current market, which is poised to grow to at least $100 billion in the next 5 years. So there's a huge market, tremendous opportunities, and a natural talent to actually cater to this demand worldwide. What kind of skills, qualification and capabilities this requires? Of course, trained professionals. Education sector provides a natural link to the sector in engineering and design. The whole focus on Industrial 4.0 as an industrial revolution concept and a cross-discipline approach. A lot of the work that you have to do in design in infrastructure plants requires qualification criteria. So there's a big focus to gain these qualification criteria. The entrepreneurs and the various companies must do similar projects in India and then take those skills and export them to markets across the globe. Of course, remote working, as was mentioned earlier, the whole mindset of delivering services through online platforms, conforming to codal standards, quality is very, very important. And last but not the least, the focus on constant upgradation, training, accreditation, and improvement of these services within the Indian ecosystem, both for the domestic market scale and for international export is essential. These opportunities, while provide a market of $100 billion, but they require certain specific strategies. I'd like to categorize them into three buckets. First, international thrust. Again, a few of the speakers talked about it. The FTAs and our counter agreements with various nations should have equivalence in terms of whether it's a service profession related to engineering, design, chartered accountancy, legal, and so on and so forth. The loan agreements must look at a certain clause that mandates the use of talent from India and in single-digit terms, the talent that can be provided on expert basis from international firms. And of course, the offset clauses to go beyond the defense equipments. In terms of domestic formulation, for organizations and countries to recognize in their FTA these services, one of the key delta is to have recognition of engineers in India through an engineer's bill. The PQs for international projects have to be generated within India. So there has to be a national alignment for a project of national importance to have mandate consultants from India to gain this pre-qualification criteria. And last but not the least, you can't work on siloed approach, whether it's international work, but in a cross-discipline manner to combine all disciplines of engineering together. On the policy aspects, a lot of this already had been represented through SEPC in the last couple of years. There's really good progress, but I'd like to mention that we need to get away from L1 when you do projects of national importance or projects for smart cities. We don't have L1 doctors for an operation, but we have L1 engineers. One engineer can cause much more damage than a doctor if you were to have an L1 criteria. A lot of good things have happened in the last 5 years, I must admit, through SEPT's QCBS is now becoming a standard across projects in India with equal weightage to competencies as well as to commercial conditions. The FIDIC contract framework has started coming up in most of our large projects. Gradually, it will go at state level. Most of the center projects now have FIDIC clauses and contract terms. And last but not the least, we are seeing tremendous digital thrust, a silver lining because of pandemic, where both government institutions, SPVs, and various bodies are working with the sector on a digital platform. All of this will help accelerate the services exports on a global scale. Lastly, if we were to get these policy interventions, focus on talent, skill development, work closely with loan agencies like World Bank, ADB, JICA to have trust with Indian partners and talent, we can shift from a cost arbitrage, which started 10-20 years back, to more co-creation and co-innovation of products, projects, and plant engineering, from doing pure detail engineering to doing actually field concept and co-owning of IP, which is generated in these engineering projects. From a single silo discipline engineering to more integrated design thinking and end-to-end project delivery models, from outsourcing to actually becoming true EPCM partners, build, own, operate and transfer design build solutions. And last but not the least, rather than being subcontracting, to actually do partnerships and joint ventures with the best companies in the world and jointly accelerate the potential of about $100 billion of services export in the engineering, design and construction industry on a sustainable basis across the globe. Thank you very much, and I believe with the platform we have in SEPC, Ministry of Commerce, MEA, DEA, DIPP, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, all of this coming together, India will become a strong powerhouse for the service sector with design, engineering and construction. Thanks for giving me the platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. We would now like to, begin. We want to make the most of the presence of Minister here, and hence we would like to launch a book on market report prepared by SEPC. May I request our colleagues to kindly hand over the books?
Excuse me, भैया क्या कर रहे हो? So,
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and the dignitaries on the dais, to kindly launch the website. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Minister. We also have one more thing that we would want to launch in the presence of Honorable Minister, and that is a film on Indian services. Can you just scroll on this?
They say opportunity lies in the details. So here's everything you need to know about the services sector. The services sector contributes to more than 3/5 of the global GDP and about half of the employment opportunities across the world. It's the exact same numbers in India too. In the last decade, services export from India has grown tremendously at 7% CAGR, reaching a whopping $206 billion in 2020-21, even as the pandemic turned economies topsy-turvy. The services export sector now contributes 7% to India's GDP and contributes more than 40% of India's total global exports. India's service sector reflects the global service composition of over 50% of gross value added. The world has noticed India's potential in services. FDI inflows into the services sector was nearly $283 billion in 2020-21. That's 53% of the total FDI inflows into India. But here's why it gets even more exciting. This year, 2021-22, the services export from India is projected to touch $240 billion. And the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, has announced a target of $1 trillion by 2030. A challenging target indeed, but one that's laden with opportunities and growth. India's intellectual capital in IT and ITES has already been exploited by the world. Now, let's look at some of the most promising industries in India in the services sector. Healthcare services. India has one of the largest networks of hospitals in the world, and the cost of surgeries in India is 1/10 that of surgeries in the US and UK. Education services. India is a great place for education, low cost yet very competitive. Already students from neighboring countries throng to India's institutions.